Have you ever imagined that a woman lives her whole life as a shadow? Or that a girl is forced to become a wife, not to a man, but to a mysterious spirit? Welcome to our channel today, where we reveal two mysterious secrets from ancient Chinese history. Harsh traditions that women lived away from the eyes, never revealed before. In this video, we will talk about the shadow women who were deprived of seeing the sun, and about the worshipped women who turned into wives of spirits. How did this happen? And why did it continue for centuries? If you are ready to reveal the terrifying secrets of history, click the subscribe button and stay with us until the end. The details will shock you. Let's get started. Shadow Women Tradition. Chapter 1. What is the Shadow Women Tradition? In ancient China, some noble families believed that women should be invisible to the outside world. In some areas, girls were forced to live in complete isolation from birth. They were called shadow women because they were forced to live in dark rooms or behind thick curtains their entire lives. They were not allowed to see men, or even women outside the family. They were considered the private property of their families, and could only speak with special permission. Chapter 2. The harsh rules they were imposed. Families would build special paths behind their houses so that the sun would never see them. If a girl needed to move around inside the house, she had to walk on her tiptoes so that no one would hear her steps. They were not allowed to eat with men or even with the rest of the family. They were trained to speak in a very low voice or even use gestures instead of words. Some girls were not allowed to see their reflection in mirrors, so that they would not feel like independent individuals. They were forbidden to laugh out loud or even cry, as this would be considered a challenge to family norms. Some families would use psychological torture to ensure their complete obedience, such as leaving them in complete darkness for long periods. They were not allowed to read or learn, as it was believed that knowledge would lead them to rebel. Chapter 3. Why did this tradition persist? This tradition was believed to preserve the purity of the girl and the purity of the family. Some families feared that women would cause scandals if they mixed with society. Superstition played a big role, as it was believed that a woman who saw the world would become spiritually polluted. Some women were forced into this fate because they were not considered beautiful or marriageable. Even after marriage, some women were forced to stay in their rooms, rarely seeing their husbands. There were some societies that saw this as a way to ensure women's loyalty and complete submission. Chapter 4. How did this custom end? With the advent of the modern era, these traditions began to slowly fade away, especially with the introduction of Western ideas into China. In the early 20th century, women began to demand their rights, which led society to abandon this custom. Today, this tradition no longer exists, but it remains a dark part of ancient Chinese history. Part 2. The tradition of women of the goddess, ghost wives. Chapter 1. The tradition of women of the goddess. In some remote villages in China, girls were forced to become wives of spirits. A family would choose a girl and have her declared a wife of a mysterious force for life. Once chosen, she would be taken to a special temple, where she would spend her entire life. She was not allowed to marry a real man or start a family. What's worse, these women were not even able to refuse their fate. Chapter 2. The strict rules imposed on them. The girl wore a special dress that declared that she had become a wife of the spirits. She was not allowed to leave the temple, and was under the control of the priests. In some cases, the girls were offered as spiritual sacrifices by their families. They were only allowed to speak at specific times, and were often forced to fast for long periods. The community believed that trying to escape meant bringing a curse on the entire village. Some girls were forced to perform daily religious rituals that drained their energy. Some priests exploited these traditions to make the women work in hard conditions for nothing. Chapter 3. Why did this tradition persist? It was believed that this custom brought good luck and protected families from evil. Some priests took advantage of these beliefs to control women, turning them into unpaid servants. Poor families saw this as a way to reduce the number of mouths they needed to feed. Some girls tried to escape, but the punishments were very harsh for those caught. It was believed that a girl who refused this fate would be cursed forever. Some women spent their entire lives in these temples without the outside world knowing anything about them. Chapter 4. How did this custom end? As China entered the modern era, these traditions began to fade away thanks to strict laws. Society began to realize that these practices were inhumane, and they were officially banned in the 20th century. Today, such customs are rarely heard of, but they remain a mysterious and frightening part of history. Now that we have revealed these two shocking traditions, what do you think? Did you know that such customs existed? Write to us in the comments, and if you liked the video, do not forget to like and subscribe to the channel to receive all the new hidden secrets of history and the mystery of its civilizations. Thank you for watching. Until next time, stay curious.